Hey guys, welcome back to Wheeling with Wally. Today I'm kind of just doing a do-it-yourself thing that's not really like my normal installs, but I've got some boxes I carry in the back of my Jeep because I don't have a rear seat in there anymore, and there's no separation between the rear kind of cargo area of the Jeep and then the back of the front seats. So when I hit the brakes kind of abruptly, those cargo boxes can slide up and hit the back of the seats. It's not a huge deal, but it can be kind of uncomfortable. And basically what I'm going to do is take this 1/8 inch angle iron, I'm going to cut it to length, and I'm going to weld it in across from one wheel well to the other to kind of make a break or a stop for the boxes to be able to rest up against or hit, so they won't fly all the way up into the back of the seats. So I've got this, and then I've got this 1/8 inch flat stock just in case I need to add some bracing on the wheel well since it's not a perfectly flat surface. So I'll show you real quick what I'm talking about and then we'll dive into the video. Okay, so here is the back of my Jeep. As you can see, I've got this Hooke Road cargo rack back here. This is one thing I liked because I added it to give me extra storage, kind of like an extra tier to stack stuff, but it also keeps these boxes in place without having to like attach them to the ground. Other than being able to slide forward, if I get in a wreck or a rollover or anything tragic like that, then I don't have to worry about the boxes being able to fly up and hit me in the head or go flying. They're pretty much stuck where they're at. So this is also a good thing to have in the Jeep. So it's kind of hard for me to reach it, but if you can see here, this is the box. This is kind of the back of the seat. And anytime I hit the brakes or anything, there's nothing to keep these from going forward. So they can just kind of roll and slide and just like boom, right into the back of the seat. And that's pretty uncomfortable. And then it's even worse if you're driving. It's almost impossible to be able to reach back here and then move these out of the back of your seat. And it's not like painful, but you can feel something like in there, and it's never nice to get a big punch in the back while you're driving or anything like that. It's a little distracting. So basically what I want to do is weld that piece of angle iron in somewhere around here all the way over, basically flush with this lip to kind of act as more of a trunk area and a stop for anything coming through. And like I said, I use these boxes so I keep everything in here. So it doesn't have to be like 100% trunk area. I just need the bar to keep these from rolling forward. So it should be a pretty simple install. The only thing that's kind of sad, in my opinion, is I have to kind of grind off my Rhino liner so I can weld it. So it's going to be kind of hard to show you guys all this. It's a pretty tight area. Not a whole lot of room in a TJ in the first place. And then adding this, it's very little room to move around back there. So I'm going to pull the seats as far forward as I can, which is only 2 inches. And the first thing I need to do is get a rough measurement from here to over there. And then I'm going to do my best to kind of keep it the same height. So I might grab a Sharpie real quick so I kind of know where to sand. But yeah, so I guess I'll just kind of wing this. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be beautiful. But it's going to be practical, and it'll be better than what I had. And really, what more can you ask for in life? So everything I do in my TJ, I try and make as practical as possible and try and think ahead of other things I might end up doing that it might interfere with. So that's just kind of a random tip for you guys. I always try and not do anything permanent that's going to hurt me in the future, and I don't think this will. I've kind of thought of a few things that it'll interfere with. Like I used to, if I needed a little extra cargo room in the back, I'd push these over this hump some because you have a good, I don't know, 6 or so inches just hanging over there, so I could get a little extra space for extra tight packing of stuff when I was going on bigger trips. I won't be able to do that now. And then the other thing is kind of in this little back trunk or back floorboard area with the seats back. Usually on road trips, that's where we'd stuff like our pillows or snacks. And I might lose some of that with this bar going across. It might be tighter to get things in and out. It's just things you have to think about, because every time I do something to this, it's you get a little something that you wanted, but you also lose a little something that you had. So I don't know. It's the life of owning a TJ and wanting to make it as useful as possible. It's a tiny package, so every little thing counts. So I've got a tape measure now, and I'm going to, I guess, measure across and see roughly how long of a piece of angle iron I need. So this is a rough measurement, but it's looking like 44 inches would work. So I'll start with probably 45 and go from there, cut it down to fit a little bit better. So I think that's where I'll start. And then from the bottom here, the middle of this box is about 6 inches. The kind of top of this bottom lip is about 8 inches. So anywhere between 6 and 8 inches high is roughly where I want it. So I'll do it like that. I think I'll mark it at 7 inches, which it would help to have the marker open. And that'll be kind of my way to keep them equal, or the bar kind of level going across. It's not going to be perfect, and I'm not even shooting for perfect. I'm so far past that on this TJ, it's not even funny. But let's go to the edge there, and then about 7 inches. And then I'll come to the other side, which you guys aren't going to be able to see because it's right under you, and I will mark that at 7 inches as well. While I was marking this, I was trying to keep the tape measure kind of lined up with the edge here, so that'll kind of give me a good idea where I need to grind. So I grabbed the piece of angle iron, I clamped it down on the vise, I measured 44 inches. I know I said I was going to do 45, but I remeasured. 44 should be enough. With a little extra, I'll probably still have to shave some off. So I'm going to start at 44. I'll grab my square and my Sharpie and just give myself a couple straight lines. Just let those kind of act as a guide for me. And then I've got my grinder, the cutoff wheel over here. My cutoff wheel is getting pretty small, but I think I've got enough to bite through that, and then I'm going to have to toss this wheel and get a new one. So make sure you guys wear eye protection and hearing protection if you're going to do this. And I'm going to scoot the camera back. That way I don't spark it up and cut this. Just realized that was a terrible angle for you guys. One other thing to remember is after you cut something like that, it's always good to just take a file and deburr it, because it can get pretty razor sharp. All right, let's see how this fits up. All right, climb in here. Very, very nimble. Okay, so this is how I'm thinking about orienting this. If you can see kind of the opening, didn't mean to flip you off, kind of the opening section going that way and kind of the point of it going towards the front of the Jeep. So it seems to rest pretty good that way. And then that puts me like right in line where I wanted it. The only thing it kind of leaves is a little gap, because this is angled and then this is just straight line. So what I might do is grab my Sharpie. Where did I leave it? There it is. Okay. Grab my Sharpie, and I might try and just ever so gently take these corners off some, and then it'll kind of sit in there better and kind of make the gap a little smaller. And I'll pull the camera off in just a second after I'm done marking and show you what I'm talking about with these gaps. So if you can see right here, there's a pretty big gap between the wheel well and then like the actual corner here, but then these corners are touching. So if I can cut off the part I marked, it should let that sit a lot closer, give you full contact along that, and then bring this gap close enough that I can kind of bridge it with a welder. So that's kind of my plan. So I'll take this back out real quick and cut the corners, and I'll just kind of work that back and forth and finesse it until I get it where it's sitting close enough I think I can weld it in and get it pretty solid. Well, that worked pretty decent. The gap is a lot smaller now, so I should be able to fill that with a welder. This isn't like structural at all. It just has to kind of hold up against these boxes, kind of bumping them every now and then, so it should be okay for my purpose. And then if you look at it, it is pretty straight with that lip where it drops down into the floorboard, kind of like I wanted. I haven't checked a level or anything. It should be close enough. No one's going to be back here looking at it, but that should work well to stop the box. So the next two things I need to do, I'll probably take this out and paint everything but the last like a little section here on the ends. I'll paint everything in the middle, and then when I'm done welding, I can just paint the end right here. I'll just use black paint. I'm not going to rhino line it, so this section won't be rhino lined anymore, but it'll blend enough. Maybe I can find a black textured paint to use on top of it. But the other thing I need to do is grind away this little section or this little patch of rhino liner so I can weld to it. And then finally, the other thing you should do is disconnect your battery. Take the positive and negative terminals off because you have to ground it to the Jeep, and you don't want your battery hooked up when you're welding on it and supplying that much voltage to it. It could mess things up, so unhook your battery. So while you guys were on a time lapse over there watching me paint that, I went ahead and took an angle grinder and I ground down to bare metal in here on the wheel wells where that piece of metal is going to sit. I think it's enough. I'll have to double check once that dries. I'll hold it up there and make sure I've got enough paint stripped back. But I'm done with that. So now I'm ready to move on to getting the welder set up. I already disconnected my battery too. I just took the positive terminal off, so that's good. Now I just need to clean this off, get this plugged in, ready to go, turn my gas on. This is so dirty. I haven't used it since I think the last time I used it was when I did my rust repair videos on this. So probably got spiders all over it, but let's get this set up real quick. Also, you'll notice the fire extinguisher. If you're going to weld, especially in and around things that are cloth or flammable, have a fire extinguisher handy just for safety reasons. A small fire can turn big really quick, so it's best to play that safe. I will probably just ground this to the actual bar I'm welding on because I don't really have any bare metal to clamp it to. I mean, maybe that would work, but I'll just clamp it to the metal I'm going to weld on there. Also, guys, I'll go over my boxes that I use for storage towards the end of the video, just in case you guys want to totally copy this setup. But then also, while the paint's drying, it gives me a moment to say, if you guys aren't subscribed, please think about subscribing to the channel. I'm getting so close to 1,000 subscribers that maybe by the time this video comes out, I might actually be there. It's been a goal for a while, so if you aren't subscribed and you're watching the video and you think it's stuff you like, please think about subscribing. And then also, if you enjoy this video and don't want to subscribe, maybe you could just drop me a like and a comment. Tell me what you guys do for your setups. Yeah, thanks. Okay, guys, so this part's going to be kind of hard to film and do. I have to hold this there by myself and then also try and tack it while keeping it how I want it and straight and everything. And then also kind of try and fit my head and arm in here. Like it's gonna be a nightmare. And the weld's gonna be ugly because I can't reach in here. I'm not a welder, and it's gonna be bad. Just don't judge me on that. So I guess here we try and go. Hopefully my ground's good enough. I stuck it on this battery, or I stuck it on this bolt over here to try and ground it because I didn't think about it. I painted all this, so it's not bare metal to ground on anymore. And then also, I stuck my welding jacket over the seat to hopefully keep any sparks from, catching my Jeep on fire. So, yeah. Whew. Spicy. All right, let me set this down and take a look at that real quick. It's a little off, but pretty good. Crawl to the back and see about how level it is. I mean, it's not hateful. I think that's probably pretty decent. Not the worst thing I've ever done, which isn't saying much. I'm going to throw another one on here, and then I'll go to the other side, throw a couple on there, and see what we can do. Okay. Real ugly welds, but I'm a bad welder. Okay, so as you can see, it's getting kind of dark out now, which also really affects your ability to weld because you can see through. This is a self-darkening, but once it gets dark, it gets almost impossible to see. So like the camera, I was also going blind while I was trying to do that. Not that that's an excuse, because my welding is terrible anyway, but it didn't help. So I'll show you guys what the welds kind of look like. Not up close. And it looks like it's going to hold though. Looks pretty good. So I don't think I missed anything. I'll go and I'll take this off. I'll crawl in there with a flashlight so I can actually see, make sure there's no gaps. And then I will just hit that with a little rust converting primer that I have. And then I'll spray some steel it over it, which is just a really thick weldable stainless steel paint, but it's black. And yeah, that should pretty much be done. So there's kind of what it looks like. Not up close because it's terrible, but I mean, it's on there pretty good. It's flexing the wheel well when I pull on that, so that should be good. I just need to spray some paint on that. Other than that, all I can say is, you know, hang out for a minute. Don't just walk away after you weld because, you know, sparks go pretty much everywhere when you're welding. So just hang out, look at it, make sure nothing's smoldering. You don't want your Jeep to catch on fire after you go back inside to be done for the night or take a break. So, you know, check in here, look for any smoke. Just be cautious because I assume if you're watching this, most likely you're not a great welder either or haven't welded. But if I'm inspiring you to try it, I don't want to be the reason you burn your Jeep down. So just be as cautious as possible. Okay guys, so these are the boxes I used. These are Rigid brand. They are pretty good boxes. They got a few features I like, but they're rugged, they're solid, they won't get crushed in there. That's nice. And if you take a look, open these latches up, they are lockable as well, but they're so small, I don't know why you'd lock them. Someone could just take the whole box and run off with it. If you open them up, you'll notice it has an O-ring in here, so they do have kind of a weather-tight seal. So I use a smaller one this size, and I kind of carry my camping food and stuff like that in it, and then I kind of keep that outside on my rack above my tire, and that's pretty handy. It gives me extra space, but it also keeps all the food and stuff good. And then if someone did unhook it and steal it, if I was parked somewhere or something, then it's not a huge loss. I lost food and a little bit of camping supplies, but didn't lose any valuable tools. I usually try and keep those in the Jeep and locked up. But yeah, so that's this box. This box is a little nicer. It's a little bit bigger. It is longer and it's on wheels, and then it has an extendable handle and you can pick it up and roll it around. I might actually get another one of these and just use two of these inside the Jeep now instead of one of these and one of these, and then I can get a little more storage out of it. But other than that, they have really sturdy, nice handles on them, and they have another cool feature that if you relock this, you see these little guys on the end here. I can take these boxes and I can set them on top. Yeah, line it up, and then you can use those little handles and lock it in, and these boxes are stackable. So now I can be lazy and take both of them like this to wherever I'm going, which is a handy feature. I can't honestly say I use it a whole lot, but it is handy if I do need it. And yeah, I mean, you can keep stacking them because this box has those too. So however you want to do it. And if you don't have like a cargo rack like I do and you want to stack them taller, this is a good way to keep everything locked together and nice, tight, and firm, and keep it from sliding around. So then a ratchet strap over it, hold everything down together. And also they have other sizes of these boxes. I've got one over there. It's real small, has a bunch of slots in it. I'll just grab it. This one is really dusty because I haven't used it in a long time. But you pop this open and it has all these little removable boxes you can mix and match. You've got dividers you can slide in there to keep things separated. It's a handy little box. I just kind of ran out of room in the TJ, so I don't use it that much. But they've got even bigger ones. They've got other ones on wheels, more like a kind of suitcase that rolls. So they're pretty awesome boxes. And I think all of them have that O-ring. Maybe not this one, but let me double check. No, they all have that little O-ring in there to make them kind of a weather-tight seal. So that's extremely handy. And then they're all stackable. They all stack on each other. I could lock this one in, put that one on top. It could lock in. It's really handy. So those are my boxes I use in the Jeep to carry tools, food, gear, what have you. I forget how much they were. I bought them years ago. They weren't cheap, but they weren't ridiculously expensive, and they've lasted, and they're still in great shape. So I'd say they're worth it. Well, guys, it's getting a little too dark to keep filming, but really all that's left for me to do is to paint the bare metal spots where I just welded. So I think I'm probably going to go ahead and call the video here. Hopefully this maybe helped you guys with some storage solutions, or I don't know, maybe you wanted to copy kind of the build I've been making here. Maybe you think I'm an idiot. Who knows? I think it's going to work pretty good for what I had planned, and it's always removable, not easily, but I can always grind that off. Not a big deal. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.